Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us this evening for the Board of Trustees regular meeting. We are going to start the meeting. If those of you online, we welcome you as well, and we thank you for being with us. And at this particular moment in time, Ms. Bonita, would you call the roll, please?
Terry Frazier,
Present.
Doyle Garcia, Hope Lavelle,
Present.
Angela Matthews.
Here.
Robert Proctor, Chad Taylor,
Here.
LaShonda Thomas.
Thank you so much. Vice Chair Fraser, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We are awaiting Trustee Garcia's arrival. He is on the way. He ran into construction roadblocks, but he is going to be here momentarily. Before we move on to approval of the minutes, it seems as though here of late we have been honoring those in our LCC family with moments of silence because people have family members that have passed, transitioned. And so for the family of Dr. Samuels as well as Trustee Thomas, I would like for you to keep them in your thoughts and in your heart. And I also would like to do a moment of silence for them as well, if you would allow us to do that. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item number 5, four, approval of minutes. And so is there a motion to approve the April 21st, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting?
A motion that we approve those meeting minutes as stated.
Thank you, Trustee Lavelle.
Second.
Thank you, Vice Chair Frazier. It has been moved by Trustee Lavelle and seconded by Vice Chair Frazier to approve the minutes from April 21st, 2025. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan, can you call the roll?
Doyle Garcia, Hope Lavelle,
Aye.
Chad Taylor,
Aye.
Angela Matthews.
Yes.
LaShonda Thomas, Terrence Frazier,
Aye.
Robert Proctor, motion carried.
Thank you. We're moving on to agenda item number 5, where there's additions and deletions to the agenda. And I do have an addition to the agenda. I would like for this item to be under the consent agenda. It will be item number G. And the agenda item is waiver of employment of relatives, nepotism policy. Each one of us has this information in the front of us, as well as it was sent by Ms. Duncan today for our viewing. And so again, we're going to add that item and we're going to move it under consent agenda. And it is going to be item number G or letter G. Are there any other additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none. We will move on to item agenda number 6, limited public comment regarding agenda items only. Do we have anyone signed up, Ms. Duncan?
I don't have anyone signed up.
Patrick? Seeing none, thank you so much. We are moving on to agenda item number 7. Dr. Robinson?
Thank you, Chair Matthews. Good evening, trustees.
Evening.
Good evening, everyone. Still basking in the glow of commencement from last week. Thank you so much for being there. Chair Matthews and trustees, I have a few things in the oral president report, including a very brief presentation by colleagues that we mentioned last month about our partnership with Capital Area Michigan Works. So at the end of my presentation, I'll have a couple colleagues come and elaborate on that conversation we had last month. But I always like to highlight the written report, and I want to call off some things that are in the report. On the inside cover, there's a great picture of our Shigematsu Garden, which this time of year is the place that people take their graduation pictures, prom pictures. Got a lot of activity in there, a lot of work happening there. So I want to thank everybody who's working on that. On page 8, there's information about our pop-up food pantry. Last month, we served 509 students. On page 10, there's a great description of our Drone Day event on West Campus. And if you take a look at the report, there's a interesting way that our marketing department adds value to some of these things. They designed some badges for pilots of drones. On page 16, great information about our Tech Forward Women in Trades event on April 11th. There were 60 attendees. Also, our Tech Careers team visited the Ovid LC schools on page 16. And on page 35, there is a description of an award that Dr. Mark Kelland received from the Higher Learning Commission. They called him a road warrior. President's report is thick this month, trustees, but you can always look at it online. On my slides there, Patrick, I am delighted to tell you, relieved actually, to tell you that for the 16th year in a row, the GFOA has given its Excellence in Financial Reporting Award to Lansing Community College. This means that our highest standards were met for transparency, judged by an impartial panel. And this is an award in recognition of our ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report. It's available to view on our website. So Don Wilski and his entire team for 16 years in a row have achieved this certification. They deserve a round of applause.
Yes.
Patrick, and thank you so much, Chair Matthews, for recognizing Dr. Samuel's not with us. She had a death in her family. She's very much on our minds. She wanted, on behalf of Human Resources, for me to share some information that will be going out to employees about retirement. This, I think, is a very positive update. To comply with the Secure 2.0 laws on retirement plans, we have a committee that looks at our retirement providers. This includes LCC staff and representatives from our employee groups. They used a third party called Innovest to make vendor selections. And we will be transitioning to have TIAA, which really is the industry leader in higher ed financial planning, to be our sole provider. This will help the LCC employees by reducing some of the fees and costs that our employees pay by as much as 50%. So communications from HR will begin soon, and that transition will happen on October 1st. So Dr. Samuel and the HR team wanted me to share that with you and the public. Next, Chair Matthews, I do have a great update about our Changemaker Center. I did a walkthrough today. It's looking fantastic. Incredible progress is being made over at Changemakers. There is an event for donors this week. We have raised $140,000. We've set up, that's very good, and more to come. Now, you'll note in the consent agenda that there is a request for additional financial resources for the Changemakers display. That's in tonight's agenda. And in large part, that's due to the flexible digital display that is basically the centerpiece of this display. A bit of disappointing news on the supply chain front with this. We had hoped to have this display finished for display and ribbon cutting in June. Could be a very appropriate time to have it done. This is a piece of equipment that's made overseas, and very much in the news have been issues with supply chain. And so we will have to wait for that piece of equipment, but we will be showing it. And I really like Trustee Frazier's name for this kind of event. He called it a peekaboo. And we're going to have people come in and see how it's going. And on that front, our entire team is here and able to answer any questions. One more thing before I ask the CAMWA colleagues to come up and talk about that. I do want to give you an update, and this was the centerpiece of my newsletter last week. LCC, along with our state and national organizations, have been engaged in a lot of advocacy, particularly on federal and state legislation. We sent out a number of letters to federal lawmakers in consultation with AACC, ACCT, and MCCA. Dr. Glasgow, Lane, Ingram, and I had an excellent meeting with Ron Hamm where we briefed about the creation of the budget in DC. And Trustee Proctor and I just returned from Detroit, where Jihang Lee, the president of ACCT, gave us an update on the federal budget process and reconciliation. President Jihang Lee spent a lot of time talking to us about risk sharing, which is something that we talked with Congressman Wahlberg about. The big issue is the president and the White House's skinny budget, so-called skinny budget, outlines the complete elimination of the federal work study program and also the TRIO program. And so that's part of what we wrote to our legislators about. And I also wanted to highlight the already existent impact on the AmeriCorps program. It's not so much at LCC, but across the state of Michigan, a great deal of the applications to community colleges are facilitated by AmeriCorps employees, all of whom have been terminated. And I did want to point out that in the 2023-2024 year, 21,420 applications to college were facilitated by AmeriCorps volunteers. Those students in those 20,000 or so applications were awarded $32 million in financial aid, and it is unclear who will be helping those students apply to college next year. So those are the sort of things that we are advocating for LCC and community college students, both in the state and federal level. And with that, Chair Matthews, I wonder if Dr. Welch could invite our colleagues up to respond to some of the great dialogue that trustees had about Capital Area Michigan Works last month. And I think they can make that presentation from the podium, right, Dr. Welch?
Yes. So Dean Dwyer will be coming up, Lee Gardner from the JTC, you should recognize him, and Alyssa Andrews, who's the Associate Dean in Student Affairs.
Good evening, trustees. I just want to talk about our long-standing relationship with Capital Area Michigan Works, which Michigan Works offers a ton of resource supports just to build our Michigan economy and just opportunities for our community members. As a partner at Capital Area Michigan Works, it is a lot of return on investment to our students, for us as an employer. And we partner with them on many things, such as grants, with apprenticeships. My colleagues are going to go into a little bit more further in depth in regards to numbers and all the services that we provide at Capital Area Michigan Works. But we've been leasing at Michigan Works since 2001. And so not only relationship value, but also just the networking, the collaboration, and the return on investment for our students to receive funding is really, really important, which has increased our enrollment here at the college, which I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues, Lee and Alyssa.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, and we appreciate the time to talk about our relationship with Capital Area Michigan Works again today. So the slide you see up here is just a little bit of elaboration on what I was mentioning during the last board meeting. So we are on site at Capital Area Michigan Works Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that is with a Lansing Community College lab instructor. And they're offering free weekly workshops to community members. So that can be anything from basic computer skills to internet navigation. They're learning certain software, so Word, PowerPoint, Excel, resume building, interview skills, all of the above. And those offerings are growing with what we have out there at Michigan Works. So in addition to that, our lab instructor is offering one-on-one services as well. So if someone wants to interact with LCC and learn more about our short-term training opportunities or really anything about LCC, they're also there to help service them in that regard. As far as the individual out there, so Bruce Elam was our long-term lab instructor who was out at Michigan Works for years and years, and he retired in late 2024. We replaced him with a new lab instructor out there, Cindy Mooney, who has been there since mid-February. And since then, she has seen between 30 and 40, the number you see up there, 31 people. That was at the time we made this slide, which was a couple of weeks ago, but between 30 and 40 people in the last 3 months. So she's seeing about 10 to 15 people every month on average is coming to see her. We also offer advising drop-in sessions. So if somebody is interested in learning more about programming at LCC, there are certain times that they know they can interact with an advisor, either in person at Michigan Works or virtually as well, can be set up. A couple of things we didn't talk about too much last time that I want to elaborate on is our partnership. It's more than just us having a presence out there at Michigan Works. It's about everything we're doing with Michigan Works inside and outside of their facility. So speaking specifically from the Job Training Center, we work with Michigan Works very closely through all of our programming. So we have a mutual goal. We're trying to help the unemployed and underemployed in the community, and so is Michigan Works. And so we have hiring events, resume workshops, lunch and learns with Michigan Works where they can come in and talk to Job Training Center participants about local employers, as well as the positions that are out there and available for them. They also offer supportive services to Job Training Center participants. So just as an example, the grant program we had with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation for released and incarcerated citizens. For the released citizens, Michigan Works supplied supportive services to 14 of those participants. And that included something even as significant as their rent while they were in the program. So they were in the program all day, every day. They could not work to complete the program. So Michigan Works helped with their rent. That's just one example of what they've been able to do for us. Also for the Job Training Center, Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, that's what was on the previous slide that Shanta was referring to. That is funding that can be supplied to people both in short-term training programs, but also in credit-bearing programming. So certificates and associate degrees, as long as it is an in-demand occupation that they are going for. All of the Job Training Center programs are specifically designed to be WIOA eligible, so we get a lot of referrals from Michigan Works for our training programs. So just to get a little bit into the actual numbers. So when we're talking financial return on investment, what you see up here is what we were able to find since our last meeting. So for credit class enrollment, on average, Michigan Works is funding 26 students their tuition, and that is every semester. So 26 students every semester at LCC are funded through Michigan Works. Since 2020, we're just shy of $1 million in tuition paid through those Michigan Works referrals. Non-credit programming enrollment, we've really only been working with Michigan Works for the past few years on kind of our holistic programs. But since fall 2022, they have sent 17 participants to the Job Training Center, fully funded through Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Just shy of $50,000 in revenue we've seen from that as well. And that picture you see there, that was from fall 2022. That is the Job Training Center's very first technical support specialist cohort. Every single one of the 8 participants in that group were fully funded through Michigan Works. So that is a 100% Michigan Works cohort we had. So I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa, who's going to talk a little bit about our future strategy and plans with Michigan Works. Yes. Yes.
Great information. You were probably reading my mind, bro, before I go with some questions. This cohort here, and the persons that are in the picture, has there been some follow-up as to where they are today?
Yes, so we reach out quite frequently to Job Training Center to completers to see if they have received jobs and kind of where they are headed on their career path. For these particular 8, I don't have the exact information on where they are on me, but I will certainly look that up. But that is something that we do. Absolutely. That is something that we do with our completers though.
The other thing. Good evening, Bert. Following kind of along in the same vein, this past year, a group of us worked together to put together the 5-year strategic enrollment plan for Lansing Community College. The overarching goal of our plan is to increase the total enrollment here at Lansing Community College by 5% within the next 5 years. There pieces of the plan do include both retention and recruitment efforts, of course, in order to achieve that goal. I mentioned that because our partnership with Capital Area Michigan Works definitely includes our partnership with them in order to achieve this overarching goal. There are a couple of different strategies and tactics up here on the board, but definitely a strategy is to increase the number of adult learners here at Lansing Community College, as we know that we are reaching the enrollment cliff for high school or our traditional learners, and we want to do more with our adult learners. part of our partnership with Capital Area Michigan Works will be, will help us to increase enrollment by that 5%, will allow us to be successful in that. But we do want to be intentional and strategic about the time and the resources and the personnel that we are spending at Capital Area Michigan Works as well. So moving forward, we are proposing 2 days a week, full day coverage for a future partnership agreement with Capital Area Michigan Works, ensuring that we are still providing adequate coverage out there and providing services on the days that we're seeing the most students as we look to support our enrollment efforts and our targets in order to achieve our strategic enrollment plan numbers.
I just wanted to ask, looking at this, you said increase the total enrollment by 5% within 5 years. Just wondering, so that we have a gauge, what was the percentage prior years? The last 5 years to be exact, how much has it increased?
We actually had not seen enrollment growth in recent years at all. So being able to increase, we had plateaued for quite some time and actually had seen decrease over recent years. Matt might be able to, like 14 years, I think in a row, we had seen deficits. Forgive me, I've been here for 3 years. But that was part of the reason why the Associate Dean of Strategic Enrollment Management was created, as well as why the Strategic Enrollment Plan as a whole was implemented as well.
Now, I am going to just ask this, is this based on the pandemic or is this because it just has not increased in several years? What would be the exact, I guess, reason for that?
A part in play because of COVID and the pandemic, but also because the pool of students that we have to recruit from is shrinking across the board. For a while, even though the pandemic was happening, post-pandemic, jobs were paying higher for those that were willing to work. So individuals were less likely to come to school, trade school, college of any sort. There's a lot that's out there for individual traditional students. Everyone wants to be a TikTok influencer. I have a high school senior who everyone thinks they're going to make it big that way. So there's that comes into play. The economy, there's a lack of trust in higher education across the board. We're all experiencing the uncertainty in higher education with the new administration as well. So there's many factors. But what we did with our strategic enrollment plan was to be very intentional and strategic. And that is things like leveraging Michigan Reconnect. So we know that there's that additional funding out there. People are very debt savvy. They don't want to go into debt. So how can we publicize the funding that is out there, meet people where they are at, help them understand how they can go to college smarter with less debt, and how to use those benefits.
I think I'll try to answer Trustee Taylor's question. About 15 years ago, LCC had an enrollment of approximately 20,000 students. We're under 10 now. But I got some positive news later. The decline has been ongoing, not just at LCC, but in the community college arena anyway.
Mm-hmm. And enrollment deficits have happened across every sector of higher education, trade schools, community college, private institutions, not-for-profit, and public institutions as well. Community colleges did seem to be hit the most because many public institutions lowered their enrollment or admission standards during the during pandemic because of the learning loss that did occur. Personally, I believe that at peak, I think that we'll be able to get somewhere around 14,000 and maintain there. I would like to see us strive for that. I'm not talking about like next fall. I'm talking about like in the future, once we have all the resources in places, we look to build and add into our programs and things start to stabilize a bit. I think LCC could easily be at that number.
I do have a question, and I'm looking at your tactic 5, develop a targeted outreach plan using social media and so on and so forth. I'm always interested in how we make noise
Mhm.
in the community. And I see that you've got some outlets here,
Mhm.
but I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you plan to reach traditional and non-traditional students so that enrollment increases, your recruitment plan. I'm not saying go in depth, but I think I want to hear just a little bit more about this targeted approach.
Absolutely. So we really started first by defining the LCC story. What is our story across the board as an institution? What are our buckets and kind of what are the differentiators across both populations and what do we want to tell? And make sure that all employees are talking the same talk when we come to our recruitment and our enrollment support staff. And from there, then we began working with marketing to start to develop targeted materials that are going to be enticing to both our traditional population and then our non-traditional population. It's not just a one size fits all. So we want to make sure that we have a view book. So the main piece that folks see when you're out at like the college nights that's enticing to the traditional students, that has the pennant in it, that has the where success begins, the excitement, the college day, all the razz and dazz and sparkle. We went that direction for traditional. And then for the adult, working on a view book that has a different flavor, talking about the flexibility, meet you where you're at, the support, the different resources. So really highlighting things that more of a non-traditional learner is going to be interested in, and making sure that we had that message that we could deliver to those two different populations. And from there, we just continued to build down with our marketing pieces. It's a work in progress, but always keeping those two stories now in line. We are Lansing Community College. We have strong programs and stackable credentials. We offer a customized student experience, campus experience. We are affordability. We can help fund education. It's an investment and we offer incredible resources. Those are our 4 main buckets that we're kind of telling our LCC story with, and then framing it around which population we're talking about. And then from there, working on those marketing pieces and then building the social media campaign around that and then building the comm plans around that. So it's definitely a work in progress. We're building more up in the CRM that we've been working on. We're building more print materials, but we have specific materials even for like our international students. They're a little bit smaller. They have testimonials in there. So all the pieces are coming together slowly, but surely.
There are a date and trustee Lavelle, is there a date? Sounds very good. That was good information. Is there a date in mind that you've spoken of where this will populate? All of what you just said, you said it's in progress,
Mhm.
correct? So I'm just saying within the next, I don't know, month, 2, 3, where it would all just populate.
I don't think a full marketing campaign ever has an end date of being done. I would like the print campaign for traditional students and adult learners to be up and ready to go for spring of 26. For spring of 26. And we're going with that because of the technology implications that come into those comm plans that we're talking about, because it takes ITS resources on the back end to marketing and myself. We partner, we collaborate, we come up with all of the great wordsmithing and everything that needs to go out, but then we have to have some ITS resources behind it to help us build everything out. So it just takes a little bit of time, the integration piece so we're sending the right messages to the right bucket of student. We don't want to cross.
So since we're on enrollment, and I'm not sure if you can speak to this or someone else could, but I noticed in the financials that summer enrollment for 2025 is up year over year compared to 2024. Could you maybe speak into what drove that, especially as, you know, you talk about this plan for driving up total enrollment?
Yeah, I think a couple of things can lend a hand to that. First of all, I think there's been more partnership and collaboration between myself and the Job Training Center and also Technical Careers at West Campus. We've worked really diligently to be a well-oiled machine, meaning if a student isn't a good fit for credit on this side of the house, maybe they're a good fit for the Job Training Center. So my team is talking to Lee's team and handing students over that way, and then vice versa. If they're maybe finished the Job Training Center, my admissions counselors are then attending their graduation ceremonies or their completion ceremonies and talking to them about, well, next steps could now be, did you know this goes to a stackable credential and then could go to an associate's degree. So there's more information sharing and then so on, the same way that it works with Tech Careers at West Campus. We're listening to the student, asking those discovery questions in the beginning and then figuring out how to partner. We also have more of a traditional admissions department than we have had in the past. We're small, but we're mighty. So we have 4 admissions counselors and a director of admissions, plus our enrollment support specialist, who serve both new and returning students in the STAR zone. Prior to that department's re-imaging, I would say we were much more of a, I would say like brand ambassadors. Everyone knew who Lansing Community College was, and it worked for us for many years. But as the pool got smaller and we were competing with MSU, we're competing with CMU, SVSU, we had to get out there and recruit the way that big universities did. So we've kind of changed our mindset a little bit that way. We also have a recruiter, an admissions counselor, one who focuses specifically on the adult population. So she's looking and working more closely with Lee's team and looking at business partnerships and things like that, that we could get into. Who offers tuition remission? Who can we get into at the HR offices? They go together and look at those things. Blue Cross Blue Shield is one that we went to recently. And then again, strategic and targeted, you'll hear me say that a lot, but we've looked at the slice region. Where do we double down? Where are we getting the most enrollment? Where are we just getting a few? And no matter what, we're going to continue to get a few. Double down on the ones where we can get the biggest return on our enrollment. The 1s and 2s, we're going to get those anyways. I'm not going to send my 3 people, my 3 traditional recruiters to the ones where we're just getting the 1s and 2s because we're going to get those anyways. So strategic, intentional is kind of the theme that we're going with using our small but mighty team.
If you wouldn't mind just really quickly, Matt, Dr. Fall can talk about the summer enrollment.
I can give you kind of a brief history of the last 15 years. I track back to about 2010. So in 2009, 10, and 11, Alyssa had mentioned, that was kind of our high water mark for enrollment. It was really artificially inflated everywhere. You're like right at the peak of a Great Recession. There's a lot of government money and programs pushing students directly into school. There's also a lot of financial aid fraud happening, especially in this area. We call them Pell runners. I worked at a different college right off of 94, and you'd have a student go to Schoolcraft and Wayne State, and, Oakland, and Jackson, and pick and get maximum funding all the way down. Rules tightened up quite a bit around 2010, 11, looking over at Don, who would remember. Around there where they got really tight and a lot more secure. So that kind of closed down a lot of that activity. Also, we tend to be counter-cyclical with the economy. So as the economy starts to improve, people go out and get into the workplace, and we're kind of a second thought. I can pick up an extra shift at work, or I can go spend all of what I just made at school. And so it become kind of a second thought. Let's see, going into 2019, we actually saw a slight uptick in our enrollment, and then COVID hit and the floor fell out from underneath us. We lost like another 8 or 10% over the course of a couple of years. Our enrollment this last year has been up. Fall, we were up almost 700 students. Spring, we were up almost 700 students. Summer, we're almost up 700 students. It's a nice split of new students and returning students. We're seeing a lot, like 600, 500 of that 700 number are returning students. That's really good news for our retention. And we want to be sticky with students, right? So they're coming back. I just looked at the fall enrollment, and this is the way too early look at fall, because it's 94 days out, the start of fall term. But we're up almost 700 students for the fall too. So fingers crossed that we've kind of hit our bottom and are starting to pull up. There are a lot of government programs, again, that are in place right now between Reconnect, College, Guarantee College. So there's a lot of funds and programs pushing that. There's been a lot of environmental factors. The FAFSA program, financial aid nationally, has been kind of a mess. And I think the uncertainty of, do I have money to go to MSU in the fall? Do I have money to go to CMU in the fall? Is pushing students our way as well. And we are seeing around the state, we're seeing everybody, community colleges is kind of picking up a little bit. We seem to be a little bit ahead of everybody for the summer. I can't figure out why. Because you'd think some of these, big state programs, everybody would lift at the same rate, but we seem to be lifting a little quicker.
Oh, and I would be remiss too, I'm sorry if I didn't mention the President's Task Force. We had a task force for 9 months. It was really helpful. I know Dr. Robinson was, it was great. I appreciated when he asked me, specifically if I would be offended if there was a task force around enrollment. And I said, absolutely not. Come on in and see exactly what we're dealing with. And so we appreciated the direct support from Dr. Robinson and Lane and the rest of the team that helped remove some pretty easy but quick barriers that have helped as well.
Thank you. Let's keep up the good work and keep those numbers going up. All hands on deck.
Madam Chair, Dr. Fall was given the positive message that I was going to relay later. I think Don Wilski would talk about that as well. We heard some good information at the audit review last week.
Yeah, as Trustee Proctor mentioned, last Wednesday, we had our audit pre-planning meeting with Reman Robson, Michelle Fowler, who is the principal, and Sarah County, who's the manager on the engagement. And that's kind of the kickoff, if you will, for the annual audit process. And one of the things that we do is to basically tell them what's going on at the college. Talk about the fact that fall enrollment was up 6% over the prior fall, that spring was up 7%. And summer, although it's, from my perspective, a little too early to call, but it's up significantly. And as has already been mentioned, there has been a lot of reasons for that. There's no one single reason. I think that's been happening. Staff have been very diligent in working on that. The State's Reconnect program has been part of that. The college had its own institutional scholarships, which frankly is a larger percentage of our budget that I've seen in any other community college. And so there's just a variety of factors that have helped bring enrollments up. And obviously, when enrollment's up, that means revenue's up. Obviously, it also means that expenses are up. We have to support those students. We have to support the staff that are helping those students. So this year has been a very good year from that standpoint. So yes, we do very much understand what's happening with enrollment. As Trustee Proctor mentioned, Matt Ball, you know, he approaches it, you know, very much from the Center for Data Science and from a statistical standpoint. I always say Matt does the numbers that don't have dollar signs and I do the ones that do. And hopefully they come together.
Before we introduce new employees at the end of the president's report, I do want to thank my colleagues for presenting about our partnership with Capital Area Michigan Works. You'll recall, trustees, this presentation came from dialogue from last month. And I really appreciate my colleagues coming and answering the question and the excellent questions from trustees. It's something that we can continue to do. So with that, I would conclude with our Star is Hired segment. Are any of our new employees here at the board meeting this evening? Yes, could you stand up and introduce yourself? And Aaron, you're in advising? Well, welcome. You being here and introducing yourself to the trustees. You are welcome to stay for the whole meeting, but we always get a big chuckle out of telling you, you can leave if you like. Yeah, you are welcome to do that. Thank you, Aaron. And with that, Chair Matthews and trustees, that's my president's report.
Thank you, Dr. Robinson. Very, very good report. We are moving on to the consent agenda action items. We already had an item that was added. Are there any items, trustees, that you would like removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda for items number A, B? So let me go back. Is there any items before we move to vote that the trustees will like to remove? We already had, I can pull them or just pull? Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. Yes, if we can, pull the fabrication and restoration services.
Okay, that would be C2.
Correct.
Are there any other items, trustees, colleagues, that you would like removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none and seeing no hands, is there a motion to approve consent agenda action items A, B, 1 and 2, C, 1 and 3, D, 1, E, F, 1 and 2, and the additional item G? Thank you, trustee Garcia. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, trustee Proctor. It has been moved by trustee Garcia and seconded by trustee Proctor to approve the consent agenda items A, B 12, C 13, D 1E, F 12, and G. Is there discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan, would you call the roll?
LaShonda Thomas, Angela Bassett.
Yes.
Robert Proctor.
Aye.
Chatham Taylor.
Aye.
Hope Lavelle.
Aye.
Noel Garcia.
Yes.
Terrence Frazier. Motion carried.
You. Is there a motion to approve agenda item C, change order number 2, fabrication and restoration services?
Madam Chair, I move we approve that item.
Thank you, trustee Proctor. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Frazier. It has been moved by trustee Proctor and second by trustee Vice Chair Frazier to approve consent agenda item, number C, change order 2, fabrication and restoration services. Discussion. Trustee Lavelle?
Yes, so I see that this change order is to increase the funds $190,000, and this is to go towards the college's sculptures and other artwork as needed. I was hoping someone could speak into the artwork per se that was maybe driving the change. Have we done a holistic look at all the different types of artwork that does need repair.
Good, Chair Matthews. While I buy my colleagues, Chris McCursey or Tim Martz some time to come to the podium, I can give a cursory answer. And I'll tag back to a question that Trustee Proctor asked me a couple months ago. And that is, how do we maintain all this beautiful placemaking and sculpture that we have on campus? One of the things, particularly over Dr. Knight's tenure as president of Lansing Community College, our college became known as a place for beautiful placemaking, including the sculpture you see, including the black and purple piece that we see out the window right now. That is a good example. That not recently, maybe 18 months or 2 years ago, that piece of art had to be completely refinished with new, I think, paint and powder coating, because these elements require maintenance and upkeep. And so with that, yes, we're requesting an additional 190,000 to the blanket purchase order. And I think Dr. McCursky could give you kind of a flavor of the kinds of things that we need to do, because this is not the sort of thing one does in-house. That buy you enough time, Dr. McCursky?
Hope so. If you walk around just the downtown campus alone, you will count numerous pieces of art, all of them being custom and specialized. And we spend a fair amount of money keeping those the way that they should be. I don't remember exactly what we paid for that particular restoration, but in Michigan, the weather's hard on things that are outside, and the sun's hard on it in the summertime, and the winter's hard on it in the wintertime. So we had several pieces of artwork that our employees have created themselves on campus. I know that we did some restoration work for the piece that sits out right outside of Dean Dwyer's office. We've got plans, I think, to move the pencils to another location that are going to make a undeniable wayfinding point for folks to get into the Gannon ramp right off Saginaw. So the move of the pencils. And whenever we do that, there's going to be specialized services required for that. And that's part of really what I think makes LCC, as Trustee Proctor would say, a campus like no other.
So if I'm understanding correctly, this additional 190 maybe was maintenance things that were caused because of the weather and the move of the pencils.
A combination, absolutely.
Thank you.
And if I could add to, Dr. McCursky gave a great example, a great answer. But one of the things that Tim Martz, Chris, and Dr. Knight have taught me about the sculpture installations that we've had here, unlike a city or maybe some very large universities where you would put out a bid and you would have an artist commission something, we've done a lot of these things ourselves, where we have done the design. Bruce Mackley, our director of marketing, has designed many of these pieces. So we've done them in-house. We've been able to do them much more affordably. Remember, during my onboarding, Dr. Knight actually walked me through some of the pieces and said, had we not done this ourselves, it would have cost a factor of 10, sometimes 10 times as much. But with that comes the ongoing stewardship of these things to make sure that they're always looking good. And the pencils is a great example of something that hasn't happened yet. The pencils need a fresh coat of paint or powder coating or whatever is on them. If you get up close to them, the elements have had their impact. We're still in touch with the artist who was I think an LCC student at the time. So refinishing them and moving them is an ongoing expense. At one time, Don and I talked, I think that there was kind of an informal number or the percentage of total budget that was allocated toward public art at LCC. But it's something that we know it's part of keeping our facilities current.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So relax with that. Sorry. Any further questions? Discussion? If not, can we call the vote?
Hope Lavelle,
Aye.
Terrence Frazier,
Aye.
Angela Matthews.
Yes.
Rashada Thomas, Noel Garcia, Chad Taylor.
Aye.
Robert Proctor.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you so much for that discussion. Moving on to monthly monitoring reports, Dr. Robertson.
Thank you, Chair Matthews. The monthly financials are in the packet, and CFO Wilski is here to answer any questions.
I have a few questions. Let me stop playing with my tablet here. So I do have a couple of questions. So one, I noticed that our federal and state grants were down by $3.7 million. And we stated that it's the timing of payments. But my question is, has there been a change in timing, say because of the new administration, or yeah, what has kind of driven this?
There hasn't really been anything specifically
Okay.
due to the new administration. You know, it's one of those things that you could say last year it happened on April 29th, and this year it happened on May 2nd.
Oh,
So you'll get those comparisons from month to month.
okay.
And it's beyond our control, obviously.
But it's pretty, okay, so it's pretty close. We'll be getting the money. It's nothing.
Chair Matthews, could I add to that? Don gives a great answer. It really is a timing issue. I think it's true to say, Don, we have not been notified that any of the federal grants that we count upon have been discontinued, right?
Correct.
That's something that's very much on our radar, to your question, Trustee Lavelle. And then benchmarking here in town. Many of you are probably aware of the fact that in the construction of their budget at Michigan State University, they're budgeting, I think, for an overall 8 to 10% cuts across the board because they're so much more dependent on federal research dollars. We are watching this, but this is not something that we've seen immediate impact. I did mention the TRIO program, Federal Work Study Program, but none of that has happened in the federal budget yet. And to date, we have not been notified that any of the federal grant dollars that we rely upon have been eliminated.
Correct.
So I think it's still a timing issue, but we're watching the larger issue that you're asking the question about.
Correct.
Great.
Thank you. My other, if I may, Chair Matthews. So I noticed in reviewing our financials, we've got a couple of different things rolling out here pretty soon. Aside from the change makers, I noticed the completion of the Gannon Transfer Center that's starting this month. And then also the West Campus Cybersecurity Center, which is slated for completion in August. Could someone maybe speak to sort of when those programs would be online? You know, has there been interest, well, I guess with the cybersecurity student enrollment, and then with the transfer center, just kind of give me some kind of clarity in terms of what we're looking at happening there. I see we've got a lease here that we've approved, but if someone could just speak to that, please.
Chair Matthews, there could be a short and a long answer to this question. And the long isn't bad. In anticipation of the kind of space issues that you're mentioning, Dr. McCursey actually put together a slide deck with some pictures of some of these spaces, but I could go over them orally. And if there were further questions, Patrick does have that slide deck. Let me start with the transfer center. We are moving from temporary space to dedicated space. And you know what, Dr. McCursey, Patrick's so great. He's got it right here. Dr. McCursey, could you show the renderings of the of that space? And then does this deck have the cyber in it as well?
I don't.
I didn't think it
have
did,
cyber in this.
but to Trustee Lavelle's question, the transfer center, why don't I stop talking and let Dr. McCursey just tell you what you're seeing here?
So I'm going to give you a brief explanation of the space, and then I'm going to have my colleague respond to the program in question. So the space that you see before you is on level 2 of the Gannon building. It was where we had the old Einstein bagel. It's where all of the seating is with the diner seating. Fortunately, Director Martz had a brilliant idea for where to move that. I will actually show that to you so we don't lose that. It was actually retained. And so this space will be as accessible as anything is. It's right around the corner from the Star Zone. And so the location of it is really quite ideal. As we were going through Campus Master Plan and we're asking students primarily, why are you coming here? Overwhelmingly, the response was, as you can imagine, for transfer. which makes a lot of sense. Out of Michigan's highest demand, highest wage positions, a lot of those require baccalaureate and above degrees. So the transfer center is really important part of where we see the college's future. And this is boring 2D drawing, but that's the footprint of it. And so basically the space sits above what is the dining commons, the old pool. And for programming,
Hello, everyone. This is near and dear to my heart, so I got a big smile on my face. But what we are being able to do now is to help all students be able to transfer to a four-year school when they're interested in doing so. And the beauty is they can go almost anywhere. We will help them. And so a student is treated like they're a client of ours. It's a one-on-one relationship, and we get them where they want to go. I will say, and anybody who works with students knows this, it's more than just how many credits that they have or what they're trying to do. We ask in our inquiry to them before they even come into the transfer center, what barriers are you facing? Because a lot of times students have way more things going on. They have deaths in their family. Some of them are being evicted. It's a huge thing. And so what we do is we get them to the resources that they need along with that transfer piece, because that's what makes them successful. It's also a great recruitment tool because once a student knows at a high school level that then they can come to LCC and have someone help them, hold their hand basically and walk them through that process, it can be a big, scary process to figure out what credits are going to transfer. And I can tell you too, from experience, that we have lately taught students that didn't realize that they could take 3 or 4 more classes at LCC before even transferring. So we're retaining students. Another platform that we have built up, thanks to Dr. Welch, is the enhanced degrees. So students are transferring more than 60 credits. In some cases, they're transferring 90 credits of LCC to go to a school to then finish out with 30. I mean, that's huge. It's a huge savings and it's a benefit to the student. And then, of course, that helps us retain the student longer.
I'm trying to see if it's Dr. Glasgow or, because you said high school. And I was just wondering, because this is great, our reach in the high schools with regards to transferring, giving them the information, all of that pertinent information that they need in order to make that decision to come to LCC to transfer someplace. And so also my mind just goes to the university center because that's where all of the colleges were located. And so I think you're saying they're going to be located in this center here. Is that in this center?
Yeah.
And so can you refresh the board's memory? Because I forgot. What are we doing with the university center? Since those programs, or I'm sorry, colleges or universities are not going to be there. They're going to be here.
I don't know if Chris wanted to talk to what the university center. I will say it was a model that needed to change because we were down to 4 schools. And this way we are servicing students for any school, and that's including the HBCUs. And then also I'm part of strategic enrollment management. Alyssa's actually my boss. And so that's the recruitment piece. Her admissions people are going out there and making sure students understand the help and the resources that they will have. I don't know if you want to talk about what they're doing at the university center now.
so just for clarification, the space is designed to have integration of far more university partners than we had with the original university center. We still have those folks. I'll go back to the student lounge for you, but they're downstairs. We still have them. The downstairs on level 1. They're just around the corner from where the student judicial affairs folks are in the Gannon building. And so we have Central and Northwood, University of Michigan, Flint. So we still retain those folks, but we're trying to apply a much broader university transfer model and not have dedicated space, but have space that a much larger number of colleges will be able to come and interact with our students.
Also, if I may, that old model was a pay-to-play type of thing. So you had the 4 schools there that then you didn't even feel like you could talk to students. So there was a huge gap. It created a huge gap in being able to help students and talk about other schools. So now we are, we have had over 1,600 inquiries from students that need help with transfer, and they're going all over the place. So.
So if I may, Madam Chair, I had that highlighted in my notes about what happens with the University Center now that we're moving some of those operations again. If I recall correctly, when the University Center was started, it was anticipated we'd have 8 other schools occupying that space. I think we never got beyond 6. We're down to 4. It may even go lower than that, but we're helping students in other ways. But still, that doesn't answer the question, what are we going to do about all that space over in the university?
So in the campus master plan, one of the primary future functions for that space is a new revised K-12 programming space. They were previously in the Mackinac building, and so that is still under conceptual development, but that's the campus master plan. K-12 programming is the primary use for that space at this time.
Thank you, Dr. McCursey. I looked for the campus master plan online. It wasn't there. I got the strategic plan. That's in the online, but thanks for the answer. Now I know something's
I'm sure
going
we
to
can get
happen
the
over
link
there.
to you, sir. And I'm assuming that Alyssa wanted to speak about engaging with what we can do for programming of K-12 and transfer.
Yes, I was just going to add that I just wanted to make sure that the board was clear that we're going to have rotating office spaces in the new transfer center that allows colleges to come in and host office hours outside of these 4 that we have on the lower level. One will be dedicated specifically to virtual. It'll have a nice Webex set up. So that is where we especially will double down on some of the work that we've done with HBCUs. We had a great meeting almost a year ago now. So where we'll be able to help connect students to those different colleges that maybe they can't travel to and see, or maybe the college admissions counselors can't always come here so that they can be in that virtual space. We can help debunk any tech issues that they might have and get them one-on-one with the admissions counselors. So instead of it being, like Patty had stated, the pay to play of really only promoting the 4 partners that we had, it's the best bang for the buck, where we, on the admission side, the strategic enrollment side, can go out and promote the advantage of attending Lansing Community College, getting as many credits here as you can, using your Lansing Promise first here in the Lansing Public School District, making sure that we're talking about taking advantage of that, utilizing local scholarships first, and then looking, how can you do this the smartest way? And it all aligns with the strategic enrollment plan because, again, we know consumers don't want to be in debt. They don't want to take out those student loans. So making sure that everything aligns. And then as Patty did say, we're making sure that everything connects very nicely and rolls up together as the transfer center is part of strategic enrollment management. So one of my 6 departments within student.
So just to double click here, and this is more so a point of education for me. I noticed that Michigan State's name is not on that list, but as I'm aware or was made aware, we do have a strategic partnership with MSU for transfer students. So could you kind of help me to understand why their name isn't listed?
So you mean these offices that are down here? Those were former University Center partners.
Okay,
And Michigan State was not, although Michigan State is our #1 transfer destination.
so will they be a part of the new transfer center
Absolutely.
space? Okay.
Absolutely. And we currently have Envision Green for the
That's what
past
I'm
year and a half. Yes. And
Okay.
so, yes, we have it in the transfer center. 49% of our students are asking for Michigan State. So we work very closely with them. And I think honestly, the transfer of credits has gone a lot more smoothly with us having a hand in that.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
And then, just again, Michigan State will not have dedicated office space in the transfer center because again, nobody is going to own or have, no one school is going to own or have office space in the transfer center. The new model is that rotating space and access multiple colleges to students, but Envision Green does have office space on campus in Starkville.
So we have a lease agreement that we just, I believe, approved its tentative extension for various university partners. So once they move to the transfer center, we will terminate those leases? Or
Nope.
help me to get some clarity.
We rehoused them when we moved out of the university center a couple of years ago. So
Okay.
those partners are down there on level 1 of the Gannon building. So we still have those folks. They're not getting displaced.
Okay.
Their rent is, friends and family discount to have them here on campus to service our students.
So we'll still keep those agreements will still continue.
Correct. As far, unless, in the future, the provost and the team wants to do something different, but at this time, yes, for the foreseeable future, expect to house those folks.
Thank you.
So what had happened was basically they needed to vacate the university center. Last year, maybe a year and a half ago, this was their temporary space to the elderly who decided to stay a little bit longer. And so now they've been in this space as partners. But the new transfer center model is not have any permanent space for any university or college partner per se, because it is in the best of the student to get that exposure to many colleges, universities, and universities.
I have a couple of questions. Sorry. First question, because I heard a few times about rotating. So if I am, a university and I want to occupy this space, then what is the length of time that I can before I have to rotate out, number one. And then number two, I know this is not about money and it is about students, helping them to the best, break down those barriers. However, I would like to, do you have an estimated amount of revenue that this is going to bring in that probably is going to help our students in some capacity?
At this time, we haven't calculated out revenue. Excuse me. I can tell you that we've had a lot of interest in transfer just anecdotally and have sent many students back to LCC for more credits. And then, of course, the new enhanced degrees are covering part of that as well, with the extra 30 credits to transfer over. I would love to be able to work with the data folks and see how we can nail that down maybe and say, hey, this is what we're doing.
If you wouldn't mind, if I could answer that question a little bit more specifically, we're not charging rent in the transfer center. They would set up an appointment to use the space and they would come during that designated time and then they would leave. So it would never be any specific room. It would be, they're going to come and be in the office from 2 to 4 p.m. on Friday afternoon and then they would go. And a new school could come in on Monday from 9 to noon. They would do their recruitment, they would go. So it's a benefit to the four-year institutions that can come in and do dedicated time, have a space to talk to students, encourage students to come and see them, and then they would be gone. They would then set up another appointment when they want to come back to campus. It's the same thing that we do on the highway. They set up appointments, they sit at a table for however long they want. We don't really charge them for it. And they recruit our students and have good conversations with them.
How many schools could be here at once?
Well, right now we have 4 empty offices that will be in the space, and then there's space throughout the center at different tables and things. The whole idea of the space is to create a really welcoming atmosphere where people can just come in, sit down. I don't care if they're eating their lunch at their table, they're doing the work, the students can explore. And hey, if Davenport happens to be there sitting at a table, let's go talk to them and find out. I'm interested in your cybersecurity. So it's just going to be very, very open. And yes, the office space is there. I'll bet you're going to see a lot of people in the open areas talking, holding conversations.
We also have a little bit of a larger meeting room where transfer workshops, so that we can green sessions and things of that nature.
I want to thank my colleagues for coming to the podium and answering questions. Appreciate it. Moving from the financial statements, Chair Matthews, so the monthly police department report. The report you've become accustomed to is in your packet on page 69. The chief is here if there are questions.
Chief, just one question, real quick. Just one. So fabulous job with the report, as always. Stop number 6, 8, and 9. It said expired tag. And I don't know if
I'm sorry, which stops?
the traffic stop with the expired tag. Just wanted to know, and I don't know if you can even divulge the information. But would those stops be more, community members? Is it our students that are on campus and, coming to school and,
I think there's been a few students stop, but I think the majority of them are just people from the community.
Okay.
And the community are just having passing through here.
okay.
But without looking at the actual ticket itself, I don't have the information here on who it was, but I could get it.
Okay. And the only reason why I asked that is because my mind just went to think of students coming to school, trying to get to school education, but that's a barrier, expired tag, maybe they need some help. Then we can get them to the right department, so that they can get some help. So that will not be a barrier for them coming on campus. That would do it.
Yeah, I would say probably, just off the top of my head, I don't think we have a lot of students that are getting stopped for expired tags. I think the majority of them is people just from the community that are, passing around the area around campus, just based on the stop tickets and looking at.
That was it.
If I could, Chair Matthews, in looking at their report, I noticed that the department issued warnings in all of those. There were no citations issued. And having let my tag expired, it wasn't LCC police who reminded me, but sometimes a friendly reminder to get over to the Secretary of State is all that's required. So we didn't put any barriers in front of students, maybe gave them a helpful reminder.
Steve, if I may,
Yes, sir.
you wouldn't know whether it was a potential student in a car when you notice that that little tag is expired. It is May and the tag on the plate said November.
Now, you're asking if we would know if it was a student or not?
Right.
No.
So you didn't find that out until you made the
Not
stop.
until we make contact with the driver. We really don't know who was coming over most of the time. Everybody's got tinted windows on anyway, so hard to see in the car.
Any stops for tinted windows?
No,
Okay.
well, that was a popular stop when I was at my previous employment.
Thank you, Chief. That's the monthly monitoring reports, Chair Matthews.
Thank you. We're moving on to linkage planning implementation, community linkage chair report. I'm going to go through this very quickly, so I'm going to probably talk a little fast. Before us, colleagues, is the Board of Trustees planning calendar from May all the way through December. Ms. Duncan, keep this updated for us. So as things peel off, then other things may or may not be added. So just, make sure that you keep that somewhere close to you. I want to say thank you to Gary. He's behind the scenes. A lot of times we don't see him, but he turns the mics and make sure we don't have no hot mic moments and just keep things going on YouTube. So thank you, Gary. He often just slips right on out at the end, so I just wanted to recognize him. We also want to thank you. We have started our Board of Trustees presentations for high school scholarships. So thank you, trustees. All of those who have selected a high school to present, they always look forward to us being there. And so thank you so much for that. I don't want to just really slide by the GFOA 16 years of a comprehensive financial report. I think that we need to just really, really celebrate that 16 years. That's a lot of hard work. And commitment, trustworthiness. So thank you, Don, to you and your team for keeping us solid financially. Yes. So truly appreciate each of you. The other is going down. I want to congratulate all the graduating students from every area and degree and department. There has been a lot of celebrations on campus. Some we can attend, some we have not, but you have not been forgotten. We do know that, you know, you're graduating and celebrating. And so I just really want to say thank you so much for hanging in there and doing that. I know my colleagues will talk about what happened on Friday, but I'm just sticking with all of the other degrees and celebrations. So thank you so much to you, the counselors, the professors, teachers, you know, for helping our students. You are greatly appreciated. Last, the 3 C's, communication, collaboration, and cooperation. That is what I heard tonight. And I'm always looking to hear that. Long time ago, I was always saying, are they talking to each other? Well, what's happening? What's going on? And every now and again, I peek my head out and say collaboration and cooperation. But you, where's she at? She back. What's your name? Yes, communication, which is my heartbeat. So I appreciate the communication, collaboration, and cooperation that is going on here with all of the departments. So that's about all of what I have with regards to the chair's report. I am going to turn this over to Trustee Proctor for committee report.
Madam Chair, much of what I'd have to say has already been said. We got an update on some improvements in enrollment. That's good. Ms. Fowler will be at the next audit committee meeting, the first Monday of next month, to give an overview of the upcoming audit and a review of what has transpired during the last audit period. So that's essentially it.
Thank you, Trustee Proctor. And now we'll move on to board member report, foundation board report, Vice Chair Frazier.
No report.
Oh, no money?
Got money. I didn't meet.
Okay, moving on to unfinished business, seeing none, new business, seeing none, public comment. This is a time where the public can comment and approach the board about thoughts and or opinions. You have 3 minutes. Please, ma'am, please, sir, adhere to that. Ms. Duncan, anyone signed up in here?
Melissa is online.
Okay, Melissa's online. And is that the only one?
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Good evening, trustees, Chair Matthews, President Robinson, colleagues. I'm Melissa Kaplan. I'm the Academic and Arts Outreach Coordinator, and I'm not going to be able to join you for the June meeting. It coincides with the Michigan ACE Women's Network Conference, the statewide conference that LCC is hosting this year and next, and I'm part of the team that's helping to plan that. I know I'll see some of you there, perhaps, during the day before the board meeting. But I wanted to be sure to let you know about LCC Performing Arts wonderful summertime festival that happens in June and July for 5 nights each month. And we present a couple of different productions, June 25th through 29th. The perennial Shakespeare favorite, A Midsummer Night's Dream, which fills the hill and the stage with a lot of shenanigans. It is a comically twisted tale of 4 love-swept youths, a bickering fairy king and queen, a royal wedding, and a rambunctious group of working class citizens who are, of course, putting on a play. Then in July 23rd through 27th, we have a collection of varied genres of short plays by 4 LCC students and 1 LCC employee, and that is the 10-Minute Play Festival. It is absolutely a wonderful place to spend an evening, the summer stage under the stars in our outdoor amphitheater on a lovely campus, and see some fun entertainment. It's free. We have concessions, sometimes ice cream. People bring picnics. If you haven't been, I hope you have a chance to stop by and see a performance. And if you have, come on back. And as always, thank you for your support of the arts in the classroom, on campus, on our beautiful campus, and in the community. It is not something that we take for granted. So thank you very much and have a great summer.
Any others? That's it? There's nothing. Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to board comments. Colleagues, anyone? Comments? Trustee Taylor?
I just wanted to speak on last Friday. It was my first time going to the commencement, and first of all, I'm just so happy for all of our students, them graduating, and it reminded me of just my why, why I'm here, why the students, why they're here, and it was exciting. So I just wanted to make sure I said congratulations to all the students, but also just how awesome that experience was. So I can't wait for the next one.
I'd like to say just congratulations to the faculty and staff for making through another successful academic year. All the things that have happened on Friday and across the institution this past year couldn't have happened without you all. So I want to let you know we appreciate you as a board for all your hard work and dedication to this institution and continue to strive. And as we have this little bit of a free downtime, please take some time to relax, refresh, and get a fresh break for as we start the next academic year in a few months. Thank you.
I did that on purpose. I'm sorry. So Bruce Mackley, can you stand up? Bruce. I just want to thank you for, your willingness to share your IP, your vision with us as you make this campus beautiful. As Dr. Robinson said, that would have cost us thousands of dollars. So what you have done and helped to beautify this campus, thank you so much. And I just wanted to recognize that and give you a hand clap. It's here, they can stand too. Let us,
learning along the way and being able to pair any talent we have on board with this amazing institution is an honor and a privilege. I mean, I wake up every day, I can't believe I get paid to do this on any level. And I mean, I think I could speak for the whole team when I say that. It's really something.
is your team here?
Well,
Come on, stand up.
Brad Latusek, our master carpenter. Lane Ingram central to most of this stuff. And really quickly, I just want to touch on the maintenance thing just very quickly. The premise of placemaking really isn't even about the artwork. It's about what the artwork implies about a city, region, or institution. It raises your expectation, your self-expectation, your opinion of where it is you're going. I mean, there are all kinds of studies that prove this, that cities that include the arts or they fold arts funding into their municipalities. Toward that, along the same thing, the flip of the coin is if you let these things slide, it implies the exact opposite. It says this place isn't keeping up with itself. What do they do? What other areas are they doing along the way that isn't they don't have their eye on. Anyway, I'm tangling my words up, so it's gonna wrap. Thank you so much. That was very.
Last task force, my last comment is the task force that works together to leverage the resources for our students. Thank you so very, very, very much for having our students' heart and mind, and your heart and mind as well. So thank you. With that, we are going into closed session.
Chair Matthews, I move that the board enters into closed session per section 8A of the Michigan OMA for the purpose of discussion, the board's executive assistant liaison yearly performance review per her request to be undertaken in a closed session.
Thank you, Vice Chair Frazier. Is there a second?
Board.
Thank you, Trustee Garcia. It has been moved by Trustee Frazier, supported by Trustee Garcia to go into closed session for the aforementioned statements. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Let's meet upstairs in the next 5 minutes, please.
You had a good time?
We also have an armed guard.
Yeah.
Hey, get in here. Yes,
Thanks.
they are.
We waiting on y'all to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Gotta take a roll.
Sorry.
Frazier,
We're still on, huh?
Noel Garcia.
Yes.
Hope Lavelle,
Aye.
Angela Matthews, Robert Proctor, Chatham Taylor, LaShonda Thomas. So 8:14. Okay, now.
Thank you.
I'm not sure you have to do it. Business has been completed.
What is wrong with you, Bumpy? Do you need a nap?
It's a
A nap.
parliamentary procedure.
I have.
Freddie,
Don't be a stranger. Happy birthday. All right.
Have a wonderful week of
Thank you.
more commencement celebration.